this news was kind of hitting the waves this week, and I'm sure it's about a place that we've all shopped at before,
Oh yes, I know
and that's
exactly.
GameStop.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
GameStop is now in the retro video game business, and I'm sure that all of us and everyone in chat has shopped at GameStop. So this could potentially impact all of us in a different way. And there's just so much, I think, to really explore about GameStop. We could probably do a whole dang episode about it. But my question is, will you be buying any retro games from GameStop? Yes or no, and why? And do you currently shop at GameStop? If so, or if you do, yes, no, and why?
Well, I'll go. I do shop at GameStop. Not often. It's not like I'm going there all the time. Usually console launches because it's just a really fun atmosphere for console launches. It just is. Or like really, really big games like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff. It's just a really fun atmosphere. And our local GameStops have thankfully always been very friendly and not as pushy as happens like when I go to the cities and stuff, like pushing stuff on you, like, you know, the
That's nice to hear.
yeah. So like they're actually, and again, that always comes down to your local management and whoever slightly above them, because like they decide how the stores are ran. Even though the corporate might want you to do a certain thing, it's kind of like, yeah, but if we're alienating our customers, we need to keep our margins up. That's what really matters in the end. So both surprisingly, both GameStops and yours are still rocking, still going. I don't, that's the thing. Like, I understand everyone's negative experiences there. I understand some of the employees' negative experiences there, but like, that's not the experience where I am. Now, I have experienced it myself going to other GameStops elsewhere, but never locally. So I believe in supporting obviously physical game stores still existing. I know that GameStop's like the last international national brand that's even has it. I know you have your local mom and pops, and I like to support them as well. We have one, I believe, in Eau Claire, maybe two.
Gaming Generations.
Yep. Yeah. So I like to support them as well, but they don't get the new stuff. So like when I want to get new stuff, they get like maybe like for console launches, they have nothing. And if there's a big game, they might have like a handful of copies because people go to them for retro stuff. They're not really looking at them to get the new stuff. Right. And there's just something that feels nice about going to even a GameStop, as dirty as it might feel for some of you guys that have bad experiences. It still feels better to me than walking into a Best Buy or a Walmart or these mega corporation stores that are like reducing shelf space and making it so there's like nothing on the shelf but the last thing that released. It's like they just don't care. They don't care about games. It's just, you can understand GameStop probably doesn't care either. It's all about the money, but at least the store is dedicated to it. And the other stuff that's in the store, you know, all the nerd stuff, it's often gaming adjacent anyways. So it all just kind of works for me. And again, a lot of this is tainted by the fact that I've had a very good local experience. I know the managers at both GameStops by name. They know who I am. It's just been, it's been a good experience for me. And if you expand this into the retro stuff, everyone keeps telling me that their retro games are cheaper than anywhere else. I don't know if that's true because I don't buy retro games a lot. And there's the thing. People are saying that right now. That's before the physical stores have launched. The prices might go up. So we'll see. The big thing I worry about with the retro, of course, is I'll always feel like the local mom and pops are probably a better overall experience for retro. But again, if the prices are cheaper, you can't argue with pricing. Now, that also means they're paying shit for retro games. But then again, they might just have literally warehouses full of retro games that they bought that they couldn't resell. So I have no idea.
It's such a catch-22, or I guess a split feeling here, because it's like I like the messaging and I like that they're pivoting towards this in terms of overall and being supportive of retro games and being supportive of physical media. I think that's fantastic. There's two things I'm worried about is commercial, because, you know, getting slightly political, you know, capitalism doesn't exactly breed the innovation of like, oh, we need to they're looking for money. That's like what you said,
Yeah.
Nate.
That's what they're doing.
It's money at the end of the day, and I'm worried that what's going to end up happening here is what they have just done is created a hyper competitive retro games market, because now every GameStop is a retro game store. So let's think about that. That is an insane amount of competition all these mom and pop retro game stores have just been put under, unfortunately. So if that ends up reducing the amount of mom and pop, and maybe in the initial they're really cheap, but again, as time tells with most capitalist organizations, there's a point where they start to consolidate and the money starts to increase prices. We see that in literally every other industry that isn't regulated, and it makes me worried for the long-term health of the physical and retro games market. But I think that I like it from its initial standpoint, but I'm tentative. I'm hesitant. That's what I'm trying to get to. Sorry, I got your chat just got really political. I'm so sorry about that. But whether you believe in capitalism or not, chat, the way it works and how businesses work, that's how it always happens. Whether you argue with it, whether you think or not. So,
well, I mean, even to an extent, like, I really wish it wasn't something that was so politicized, because it's like it's a very factual thing. Like, it's not
like
that's
how
just how
businesses
capitalism works. An
Yeah.
example that is the best example I can think of is, like, if you think about how streaming has innovated. It came in as the cheaper alternative to cable. Now everybody's off cable, and what is every single streaming service doing? They're jacking their prices because nobody's going to go back to cable.
That is, it is the natural process of capitalism is to commodify it. But anyways, besides that,
I'm still on cable.
Yeah, but besides all that,
providers.
I still think it's good overall messaging wise. I makes me excited because I think it's going to increase accessibility to retro hardware, games, all that stuff, and I think that's fantastic. I think from an accessibility point and a messaging standpoint, it's fantastic. But in terms of long term, whatever, and how businesses have operated in the past, it makes me also worried for mom and pop retro stores, and it makes me worried for the long term health of retro collectors, games, physical media. That's
I can
all
understand that.
Let
me ask you both, since you guys have went, what's your experience been like when you go into the store?
GameStop today?
Yeah, just what's it been like when you've went there recently? Maybe the last couple of times.
Geez, the last time I went was Tears of the Kingdom launch, and it was fairly positive. But I don't go unless, like Nate said, I don't really go outside of like events. So I don't know like what the general experience is like. I've never been upsold on like a membership. I don't know. I just haven't been doing that.
You were never upsold on a membership?
Not to my memory. Maybe I have, and I just dismissed it out of hand because I'm so used to doing that at every other big box store. So maybe that's probably the more likely scenario. But even then, even if I was, it was never so inherently negative that I had to, you know what I mean? Like it was easily, they respected me, or like they didn't push it or anything like that. So
good.
I would say I've kind of had it both ways. I've been to a lot of GameStops because when I was younger, like that was the place to go. GameStop had the biggest like display of Nintendo games, and that's where I got like all my Xbox games, and I went in and pre-ordered stuff. And the one thing that I loved about GameStop was you could essentially put $5 down. Like I remember after E3 one year, I went and put like $5 down on 10 games, and I could pay them off over time.
Yeah.
Other places, like you got to fork it all out at once. And I'm like, I'm 12. I don't have $60 to dish out right now, but I do have $5. So
yeah,
I liked that aspect of it. But in that, and I don't know if it's just because I was younger, and like my mom was always one to be like, you need to get up there and order your own thing and just learn how to do it, which has really helped me later in life.
It's good.
And they would always try to upsell me on the thing because like, oh, do you need disc protection for your Nintendo 3DS cartridge? That's not a disc. Like, but what if you break it? And so that turned me off for a while. And then a couple years ago, I moved and we hit a new GameStop here, and I went in and they were really pushy. And this was like 2020. They were really pushy about like, well, do you want to get warranty on this Funko Pop that you bought? Do you want to get, coverage on this Switch game that you bought? And I didn't like that. But then went to college, came back, and the last year or so since I've been back, they've actually gotten a lot better about it. And because like every time I go in, they'll ask, like, do you want to get like the coverage for this Switch game? And I'm like, nah, I take really good care of my cartridges. Like, I'm not worried about it. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they ring it up and call it a day. And I appreciate them dialing it back, because that was the one thing I didn't like, was how pushy they are about it. So now that it's not as bad, I think it's fine. But I haven't been into GameStop, I don't think, since February to get Persona 3. And the only reason I went there was because Best Buy didn't have the PS4 version, and I didn't want to wait for Amazon to ship it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just go into GameStop. So
nice.
The last physical game I bought was literally Luigi's Mansion 2, and I bought it from the Nintendo store in New York. Like, I was in the Nintendo store, so I didn't even get it from a GameStop.
Nice.
But I would say very past like elementary school Austin GameStop, very cool, very pog. Like high school to college GameStop, it was a bit rough, because I think they were starting to go under a little bit, so they were being pushy about things. And now that they seem to have a little bit more financial stability, it seems like that they can be a little bit more relaxed. And I don't know, the last 2 times I have been in it the past year, I don't know, it was fine. It was nothing super negative, just the same smelly, sweaty gamers and like someone in the chat said, Funko turned into Funko Pop land. But hey,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that Funko display in every GameStop is massive, and I hate it.
Listen,
I mean, it probably brings in big bucks for them, but I still hate it.
And I actually did like in college, I had a GameStop membership because I could get a pack of cards through it, a pack of Pokemon cards every month. So I was like, okay, sure. It was like they gave you like $5 back towards your whatever.
I love that, because they used to let you turn it into a $5 eShop card when they had the eShop card. So I would go in and just get $5 in the eShop every month. And then they got rid of it. Or Nintendo got rid of the $5 card. And GameStop wouldn't, like, I asked, like, can I get a GameStop gift card? No. Can I put it towards a pre-order on a game? No.
Interesting.
What can I use it for? You could get a $10 eShop card. I'm like, okay.
Then I'm spending more money.
That's irrelevant. I then have to spend $5.
Yeah.
So is the retro store, is that every GameStop store, or is it select stores are doing it? Because when I saw I don't remember if I saw it on a Twitter post or I got an email about it. They were like, see if there's a location near you. And I did. And there's only 2. And they're all like 45 minutes away. It's not my local store, because I don't think my local stores are big enough.
See, that's interesting, because I feel like that would make it very confusing branding wise then.
Because when I saw it and they were like GameStop retro stores, I'm like, are they converting existing GameStop stores into that, or are they popping up new stores?
Yeah,
or is this just part of an existing store? Like, I don't know.
I would assume converting existing stores into a combination thereof, but
I want to say they're not opening new locations. Like, I follow GameStop pretty closely. They've been closing lots of locations over the last 5 years. A lot of layoffs, lots of layoffs. When quarterly numbers typically come out, there's layoffs. Just a lot of overall closures. And obviously, like, we have to look at the direction the market's going in, right? And we're the ones who dictate the market. 90% of physical sales, or 90% of game sales, are digital now, which is a massive number. The physical games are for 10% of the people. Now, Nintendo does sell, and it's Nintendo only, not Sony or Xbox. Nintendo does sell more physical than the other companies.
40%.
Yeah, which is impressive. compared to the other ones, but overall, as a whole, it's 90-10. So if you're a GameStop, how are you going to stay in business if they stop doing physical games? We already saw like the Xbox leak close to a year ago, how they are looking into going completely digital. And we already know that. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what they're doing, the direction they're going, and the cloud gaming. They have the smallest section at every store. Best Buy, Target, Walmart, wherever you go. Microsoft has a very small section compared to PlayStation and Nintendo. They're getting out of that. Okay. So there's one console manufacturer out the window. So if you're GameStop, you can't count on them. Now you're down to PlayStation and Nintendo. I think you can always count on Nintendo as far as physical, because they know we love that. And we know we're getting it obviously for Switch 2. And say Switch 2 runs for 5, 6, 7 years, probably 5, 6 years, maybe. I don't know if it's going to run 7 or 8 like this. I really doubt it. But, you can count on that. GameStop can. But then I don't know about PlayStation. I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to PlayStation 6. I don't know. But we see the direction it's going in. So GameStop has to do something to become relevant, stay relevant. And retro's the name of the game, right?
Yeah. I mean, just to add a little bit to it, I kept thinking for a while, like, why did because you can buy everything digitally on Nintendo. So why are the sales so different in terms of like not being 90-10 like it is on PlayStation? And I realized, and I think I saw this coming with PlayStation 4. It's game installs. It's what did it to PC. You have to install the game on your local hard drive. So what the fuck's the point of the disc anymore? You have to install the game. Oftentimes you have to download additional stuff beyond what's on the disc to install the game. Nintendo's like the last platform holder where you just put the cartridge in and play. You don't have to install most of the time. I understand some third parties have cheaped out, not put the full game on the cartridges. I get it. The cartridges are expensive. I understand it. Margins can be thin sometimes. So is that going to get better on Switch 2? I don't know, but I'll tell you this: Nintendo's games, you'll be able to pop that cartridge in and play, no update.
Yeah, and Nintendo's always been about that. They've always had.
I think that's kept physical more alive, even though it's still trending towards digital. It's slower because, hey, man, we're on a platform on the go that don't always have internet. Pop that fucking cartridge in and play.
Yeah, that's what's always been great. Like, even if we go back to the 64 era, and I know you remember this very well, that Nintendo, there was a big deal, it was a big debate, it was a big sticking point for a long time about loading times. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you had PlayStation 1 growing up and you sat there and waited and waited and waited for games to load, like, it really broke immersion a lot of times. And meanwhile, you have N64 with 0 load times. And Nintendo was very clear that they didn't want to have load times. And that was a big reason, actually. It was one of the reasons that they didn't go with having discs. There's other reasons too. One of them, of course, is, copying them, right? And PlayStation 1, they had a mod chip that came out for it pretty early on in the life cycle, to where people were burning PlayStation 1 games, in middle school and high school. So I get that as well. It's interesting with GameStop because their history's been interesting. You had the whole stock market thing. You even had Reggie working there for a little bit. He was an advisor.
He dipped you guys. He's like, this isn't working. Nope.
I agree. And when I saw Reggie go, I'm like,
they're cooked.
That's not good, bro.
Guys, the only reason they're around is because of the shorting that happened.
It is the reason they're around.
That's literally it. They got out of all debt. They have no debt anymore because they were able to cash out big time with their stock. Having that increase in value. Like everyone talks about, hey, good for Roaring Kitty and all the people that made money, and sucks for the people that lost money. But and it was a very hilarious situation, and you guys should go watch the Netflix little documentary they did on it. It's really fascinating. But he also saved that the Roaring Kitty guy. They literally should be writing him checks for life. he saved the whole company. Like on his own, he saved the whole damn company by saying, "Hey," and his reason the whole time, I just like GameStop. That's it. It was the worst stock investment to do. Didn't matter. I just like GameStop.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
You
Wall
guys
Street bets
companies.
was a
So yeah,
crazy.
GameStop, like people, everyone, it's always been GameStop's going to go under in like 3 to 5 years. You keep saying that GameStop's probably still going to be a brand that has a store somewhere like 20 years from now, but it's because of that situation. So now they're like, okay, now that we're actually going to be around, because like we were going to do this shift to do online sales, but like that's so hard to crack into. So we have all these physical locations. So what can we do with them? Like what physical game stores still exist besides us? Oh, retro. Well, no shit. Maybe you should have threw all the games in the dumpster all these years. We'd have a nice buildup of inventory already. So now you got to try to buy retro games for pennies on the dollar to get any resale value out of it.
Right, which is interesting because we all know that like retro games are they're expensive. Like I am not in the market of buying retro games. I have probably over 500 retro games behind me that I owned from back in the day. I would not buy into it right now at all. I haven't bought anything retro in probably, I don't know, what are we in 2024? 15, 20 years? Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
the prices
nothing.
are ridiculous right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous
because everyone's collecting, and now with GameStop going to retro, it's gonna actually get people wanting to collect even more, which is gonna drive the prices even higher.
Yeah,
because there's so much available.
Totally. Totally gonna drive the prices, and like
if you're a seller, great markets ahead for you.
It is, and I was gonna say that to him, like Flam, I get what you're saying as far as the mom and pop stores and how obviously now you have GameStop, right, as your competitor. That's huge for them. It's like, oh man, but at the same time, it could drive hype for the rest of the market, and I think that's a good thing as well.
If they survive the undercut phase, if they survive that and get to the boom, then they're going to be making.
See, that's what I was saying is like I think I'm tentative long term. I'm hopeful, but I'm tentative. That's with the long term. In the short term, I think it's going to be crazy, good-ish. Yeah,
eBay sellers too, because there's a lot of retro eBay game stores. Here's, I guess, this is my thought on the retro scene and just kind of my GameStop experience. Look, I've been going to GameStop throughout the years, and I've been in many different locations from here in Arizona, and when I was out managing restaurant chain in California, I went to a bunch shop there in San Diego and then Monterey Bay, and so I've been all over. I like the things that they've done over the years. I really respect that they were the place that did these midnight launches. I have fond memories of that, and if you guys have been to a midnight launch, nobody does it here in Arizona. Nobody.
Really?
I've went to Walmart's that I go there at 10 p.m. Arizona time, where it's 1 a.m. in New York, which means you could have sold it to me an hour ago, right? And they don't know what the F I'm talking about. They have no clue. I get a manager over, I explain it to them. They don't know what I'm talking about. It's just a shit show trying to get a game when you're supposed to be able to get it. And so then I think about, man, I miss the days. I miss the days when you could go to GameStop at a midnight launch and you can get in line and you just start bullshitting with people about video games like we're doing here right now. So fond memories there. I like that they did that. I actually wish they'd go back to doing that, because if you're still going to sell new games, maybe you should get back to the things that worked, right? My experience in the store, I obviously I've had the same sales pitches. I've had them ask me if I want to get a disc replacement plan on a cartridge. It's like, come on, guys. But the thing is that I've always said this too. it's not the employees. I hope everyone knows that in chat too. It's never the employees, man.
Yep.
It's the
always the
shit
hierarchy.
always rolls downhill. It
Uh-huh.
always has and it always will. It's corporate.
What
It's
you
the
ever
district
think of the
managers.
shareholders?
Yeah, it's always that. And
I had a friend work for GameStop, and yeah, it was always your numbers on getting memberships are not good. You need to work on that. And it's like, I can't force people to buy these things.
this is true.
It's actually the more you try to force people to do it, the less likely they are to do it. So it's like, just ask the question. If they say no, well,
Yeah,
I guess that you don't know.
it's completely true. And from what I've read, I've watched videos as well on YouTube with someone who covers this stuff, but they schedule your hours based on your sales. So if you're not, you could give the best customer service in the world. Everyone that comes in there could love you. You could give the best game recommendations. You could be the most delightful, most positive person in the world. You could cover for other people's shifts when they call in all the time. You could be that great employee, right? But if you don't have the numbers, you don't get the hours. And I think that's shitty. And so there's a lot of things I don't like, but it comes from the top that I don't like and that I don't respect. But as far as the employees go, what can they can't do anything about it, man. So my disrespect never goes towards the employees. I will say that when I buy stuff online, if I buy something new, I expect a new game to arrive. And when a new game doesn't arrive and I receive a box that looks like someone beat the shit out of it first, that's like the plastic's torn on it and it's got a sticker on it and it's not sealed. I've literally got brand new games that I've bought. Brand new. I paid the brand new full price. And what is showing up? A used game with a used sticker with a price tag that says $29.99 when I paid $59. I'm like, what the? You know what? I go into the store, go in there to return it. Oh, what's wrong with it? Well, I bought a brand new game. This, obviously it's not a brand new game, right? Yeah. Okay. Did you want store credit or something? It's like, are you guys used to this? And then, of course, I get online. I start looking, doing some searching. Yeah, they are used to it. This happens all the time, dude. I watch people do unboxings on YouTube just as a joke, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let's see what we got from GameStop's buy two, get one free. And literally, you buy new games and they show up used. This has happened to me a ton, okay? So I don't like how they do business there. And there's things I don't like about it, right? But I never blame the employee. I think it's good for the retro gaming market. I do think it will drive it up. I hope GameStop doesn't take advantage of people too much, but that's what they're kind of in the business of doing. And this is why I kept all my games over the years. I refused to sell them to GameStop because I saw what they did. They buy something from you for next to nothing, and then you see your copy on the shelf for $55.99 right next to the new copy that's $59.99. And they gave you $15. It's just, I just can't get behind that when there's things like OfferUp and eBay where you could go sell your game there for 2 or 3 times the price that GameStop will give you. That's kind of where I am with it.
All right.
But I wish them well. I don't wish failure upon anyone. The more the merrier. And I'm with Nate too, as far as the big box retailers. I'd rather support GameStop. I'd rather support the mom and pop places, but like you said, they don't get new games. They don't get new consoles. So this is where we're at in the physical gaming market right now.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly thought that they... Nope, I'm muted. Good call. Thank you.
I was wondering. I was like, who's talking in the background?
Yeah, that's me. I honestly thought that they had attempted this once already. Did they?
Yeah.
Selling retro stuff?
Yes, a small little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Because small sections.
Because all of a sudden I heard this. I'm like, I thought they had already attempted this. But okay, so that's I was thinking correctly. Okay, but yeah, no, that's like Nate. I've gone to the same GameStops he has, so my experiences, and a lot of times it's with him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my experiences have always really been pretty decent there. They have never really been extremely pushy for, they'll ask the question, and if I say no, they're good. That's actually where I have my Echoes of Wisdom pre-order through, because it's the closest game store as well. So that also helps. But it's one of those things that good for them. Hopefully it helps a little bit to keep game stores around. But honestly, it's support mom and pops, then your GameStops, then your Walmarts and then Best Buys. So there you go. That's just my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Amen.
That's the order I go in.
GameStop's going to be around for Switch 2 launch, and that's what I care about.
For them, they sell Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah, I mentioned
Graded
that.
cards now.
Oh, they sell graded cards.
They're in
That's
the great. Yeah, they're in the graded card business now.
Wow!
Ooh.
I did
Yeah,
not
and
know
s-
graded. I knew they sold like new product. I didn't know they sold old
Yeah.
good singles and
Yeah,
stuff. Wow!
and that's the thing though about GameStop, right? Is that they keep finding ways to stay in the game, so they don't have to stop. But for real, you think about it, right? Like they tried the NFTs. Remember that? And
Oh my God, yeah.
And I saw that and I shook my head, but I shook my head at all of the video game companies trying the NFT horse shit.
Yeah,
Wasn't a fan of it, but I was like, okay, they're trying, right? Always good to try. I don't think it's going to work, but if it does, more power to you. More power to the players, right?
yeah.
Gee, he's on a roll.
But yeah, when I saw the Pokemon graded cards, I'm like, oh my God. Like they're gonna stick around if they keep trying everything. Something's gonna work. And now retro is you do retro, you stay in the game as long as you want, right? I don't think retro ever dies.
Yep.
As long as they can turn it around and market it, like get it going.
I mean,
I
it
mean,
sounded like to me they were going to turn like certain stores into like entirely just retro stores. And then maybe some of their stores that are still doing really big numbers with like new stuff, they'll just leave those as that.
Yeah. Yeah, retro doesn't die until all retro games are gone. Until it's like so, which
Yeah,
is not,
we say that, but then like you get 10 years
20,
out, there's new systems that are now retro.
Yeah, well, as I'm saying, like
Exactly.
10, 20 years from now, I don't see it. Like it would be beyond our lifetimes or 50 something years from now before that would happen. So
Yeah, I mean,
at least for the foreseeable future, that is definitely a market.
In order for,
I
feel like
it's not a permanent long-term solution, especially if you have like for niche stores, yeah, but like for like thousands of stores, yeah, no, there's not. That market
feel like
won't exist forever.
for retro to truly die out, we'd have to be at least die out in the sense of nothing new is being added to it. We'd have to be in a fully digital space. There is no physical game whatsoever.
Exactly.
And I think that's still like
Nintendo's going to keep it going for a while.
Yeah, Nintendo's going to be the last one, and I think we still have 5-10 years before even.
Yeah, it won't be Switch 2, and I doubt it's even going to be whatever after Switch 2. I think there'll be enough physical sales for Nintendo to be like, nah. And then they'll be like, oh, but we got a backwards compatibility as well, so that's a whole nother reason. So like, Nintendo might keep it going for a while. I'll be interested to see if PlayStation dips out with PS6. If they dip out with PS6, that is a blow.
I agree, because that'll be easy. It's an easier out for them.
Yeah,
to share the blame with Microsoft, like to share the headlines. If it's just one, then Microsoft gets all the hate. But if they do it together, they can at least share it and also get out. It's like when you leave a party early, someone leaves early, you're like, oh, you know what? I might dip out with you. It's same philosophy, really. So it'll be interesting to see, because we know Microsoft's going to get out. It's whether or not Sony's going to join them.